Adam Schiff is suddenly worried about government spying? Give me a break. Let's talk about the hypocrisy they don't want you to see.
Both the great value that UAV and drone technology have for law enforcement, and I can imagine innumerable productive and important uses, as well as the risks that drug cartels and others are using drones for their own nefarious purposes. But Mr. Willoughby, I want to ask you about a different kind of concern, and that is we saw drones being used by DHS over Los Angeles during protests. And my understanding is that DHS policy requires that there be privacy protections when drones are used and may capture people engaged in First Amendment protected activity, among other things. And that drone footage is not allowed to be released without a law enforcement purpose or some other legitimate, analyzed, and approved function. Nonetheless, drone footage that was captured over Los Angeles was published by the agency. Why was it published? Who made that decision? And how is that consistent with DHS policy that is supposed to protect the privacy of those that are caught by drone footage?
Thank you, Senator, for the question. I'm not familiar with the use of drones for the positive law enforcement uses. My portfolio is strictly on countering the drone threats here in the homeland, but I can circle back and get you an answer to those questions with your permission.
Yes, if you would, I would appreciate that. As I said, I can more than understand the legitimate law enforcement purposes, but also deeply concerned about privacy interests and chilling First Amendment protected speech. As this technology proliferates, we're going to have to make sure that we protect those vital interests of the American people. Let me ask you about a different issue then, and I'll open this up to the whole panel. We've repeatedly seen, as we've battled wildfires in California, that spectators using drones have interfered with the firefighting efforts. There have been collisions with aircraft. There have been other times where aircraft had to be brought out of the fight until they could disable a drone or find its owner or whatnot. How recurrent is that particular challenge? What is the state of the technology to be able to disable a drone in flight or to identify where the user of the drone may be?
Maybe I'll start and then turn it over to my colleagues afterwards. The use of drones in these emergency response areas, whether it's firefighting or disaster relief or search and rescue, is prolific. And nearly every national incident that we hear about, most in the recent past, there have been unauthorized drones flying into space, interrupting authorized manned or unmanned operations. And for the most part, out of a abundance of caution, those manned operations are halted when there's an unauthorized drone detected in the area, which can severely debilitate our ability to respond in a timely fashion. And the ability to stop or prevent a drone from going somewhere is really restricted by the current authority that we have that's limited to just certain federal entities. And unless one of those entities is there providing a counter-UAS protection mission, we would not be able to stop an unauthorized drone from proceeding into a restricted area, even if there was a flight restriction in place, which is often the case during these emergency responses. But I'll pause to see if my colleagues have anything else.
That's an excellent point, Senator, and I think it illustrates the need to expand these authorities to state and locals. I'll give you an example. In the Los Angeles field office has developed over many years a robust relationship with the LA County Fire, LA County Sheriff, LAPD with regard to protection of wildfire areas from drones. But there, as you know, can be multiple wildfires in the greater Los Angeles area at any given time. And as we stated, the FBI cannot be everywhere. So the time is now for these agencies to get these authorities to protect wildfires and other public safety events.
And if you could speak to the sort of the state of the art in terms of geofencing of drones, how capable is that of dealing with commercially available drones?
If you're referring to the geofencing on the drones themselves from the pilots, that is no longer really an applicable technology. Previously, some of the drone manufacturers did have some attempt to prevent people from flying into areas they shouldn't, and that has changed quite dramatically in the past 9 months. As far as our capabilities, we do have effective technologies, but there is no silver bullet in counter-UAS.
Welcome back to Jace Manhwa. If you're new here, hit that like button, smash subscribe, and turn on the bell so you never miss when we break down the truth the mainstream refuses to cover. So I just watched this Senate hearing where Adam Schiff, yes, the same guy who pushed the Russia hoax for years, decided to grill officials about drones being used in protests, wildfires, and even basic law enforcement. And let me tell you, folks, the hypocrisy here is off the charts. Here's Schiff's angle. He's suddenly worried about privacy, worried about surveillance, worried about people's rights. Now don't get me wrong, I agree, Americans do deserve privacy. But where was Schiff when the FBI was spying on parents at school board meetings? Where was he when the intelligence agencies were weaponized against Trump supporters? Where was his concern when big tech and government colluded to silence voices on the right? Crickets. Silence. Nothing. Now he's worried about DHS drones flying over Los Angeles during left-wing protests. Convenient timing, don't you think? When it's his side out in the streets, suddenly privacy matters. But when everyday patriots gather to exercise their First Amendment rights, Schiff and his buddies cheer on surveillance and censorship. That's the double standard. And then there's the wildfire issue. Spectator drones messing with firefighting aircraft. That is a real problem. No argument there. But here's the rub. The federal government has tied the hands of state and local officials who are closest to these emergencies. Instead of empowering firefighters and sheriffs to deal with rogue drones immediately, Washington keeps all the authority for itself. Once again, D.C. wants total control, while the people on the ground can't act. That's insane. Even the experts admitted that technology like geofencing used to help, but manufacturers watered it down. Because there's no accountability, and because the federal government would rather regulate than actually solve the problem. Typical bureaucratic failure. So here's the takeaway. Schiff and his allies will only raise the alarm when it benefits their politics. They'll scream about privacy when their base is affected, but cheer on surveillance when it's conservatives. And while real threats, like drones disrupting wildfire response, grow worse, Washington hoards power instead of trusting local communities. If we're serious about safety and freedom, we need consistency. Privacy and free speech must be protected for every American, not just when it's politically convenient. And local authorities should have the power to stop threats without waiting on bloated federal agencies. That's the truth you won't hear on CNN or MSNBC. Stick with me here on Jace Manhwa, where we cut through the spin and call it like it is. Like this video, subscribe, and share it with a friend who needs to hear some real talk today.